like 78%. There's donuts you guys can help yourself. And this is actually over here.
I feel great.
I'm already up there.
My score went up about 128 points.
Well, I think so far they've been doing an outstanding job. The staff is very friendly, very knowledgeable. So I've learned some things that I did not know about my credit, and try to focus the credit along so I can get a better score. So I learned a lot. I think about this is very professional organization. Done a very good job.
My credit score went from 531 to 586. They deleted 61 accounts out of 102, which is 60% the account review.
75 pounds out of 130, that's 57%. My score, my Fico score is 496, now it's 567. I'm close for it.
I went from 517 all the way to 700. Yes, it's double. I don't really get points. By doing this, I was able to get something wrong. Squeeze it along.
Me personally, I think my score went up 200 on I'm not gonna lie. When we first came in, it was so much that was on my credit, so much that was on my credit.
I believe I'm at 76% of my debt.
I got 86%, so it was almost 100%. You know, we would love everything to be a perfect world, but that makes that a process.
Vivix again of 49 Vivix and 34,000. And mine, directly my account and the Elizabeth paid in my account. So if you look here, you will really have to check out mine.
They have been dismissed. My score was 614, all the way to 794. It's made it possible for me to open up 2 new credit card accounts. And the cards coming next. So I really appreciate it. That's
I went from a 63 credit score. I told you. It's up on 6 months, 70, 80. I was real happy with that considering I was in such financial stress.
Mine was almost take care of 24 out of 30, and my score is almost 700, which is pretty good. I just have to keep up my payments, and we will recommend to people we know because it's really hard nowadays to trust companies. They stay in what they do, so it's pretty good for us.
My experience has been 100%. I got the best treatment from the team, and I'm very happy with the results.
It has changed to the point now that I feel better in the way that they respond quickly by email, by phone, and that's something that normally not other companies will probably do for you. But I'm so proud of me that I came basically to this location, and I feel that they've done a wonderful job of basically following and doing what they have to do. Again, I would highly recommend them to other, hopefully, customers that are walking in and they're pretty much nice to take change. And again, thanks for helping me, and I feel much better every day that I come from class.
I had 117 things on my credit. They were able to remove 89 of them. Increased my credit over 90 points. So now with my credit, now I can go buy the house I don't always buy.
All of my scores were in the 400s and up to 644, and we're still working on it, and they have taken care of 72% of my collection items and wiped them from my accounts, so I'm very happy, I'm very excited. It's a great company, the girls are very polite, professional, and they treat me wonderful.
It's really good. I got a 74%. So I was 46 out of 65. Got to be on my credit score. Really good.
As far as my results go, I'm definitely very pleased. Out of all the items that they disputed, they were able to get half of those removed. So I'm definitely very happy with it, to the point where I'm willing to do another round to see if they can, you can do more value for me. As far as the additional elements of their company, the credit coaching was also very helpful. Understanding exactly how to manage your debt and your credit, and where the ratios need to be and the percentages need to be, and the best ways to basically achieve better credit. So I'm definitely very impressed and would highly recommend them to other customers.
I mean, I feel great. I came here months ago with a lot of derogatory notations on my credit history. About 51 of them and 42 of them have been removed. So that itself is great. So now I have a much cleaner credit record. And
okay, good morning. Good morning. I want to watch a quick video here. It's from 60 Minutes. I think it's really important that you see this, and then we're going to discuss it, and then we're going to go right into the workshop. Okay, we had about 42 people that are registered for this workshop, so we're expecting some more people to show, but we're going to just start on time anyway. Okay, so the workshop is Discredit to A+ Credit, and I'll just explain that really quickly. When I had very, very poor credit, I felt discredited. I felt that the community was redlining me out of certain things that I really needed, like a job, right? I was homeless, I was living in the park, redlining me from getting transportation, redlining me from getting proper housing. And I'm not saying that it was their fault that I had challenged credit, and people, should give me even though I have challenged credit, but I felt discredited everywhere I went. My credit was so important to everyone else, all right, about if they would give me services, even car insurance, okay? So discredited to A+ credit, potentially less denials and more approvals. That's all you want when you go apply for credit. You want to be approved more than you're declined. Yes or no? Yeah, that's it. So that is how I felt. So the title of this workshop came from my heart, not from my mind. It's what I experienced, not what I thought, okay? Let's listen to 60 Minutes here. It's about 6 months.
We live in an age where much of what goes on in our daily lives is monitored, collected, and sold to interested parties. Our driving records, our medical history, our internet traffic, and most importantly, our credit information. A mistake on your credit report can cost you money. It can increase the interest you pay on your loans, prevent you from getting a mortgage or buying a car, landing a job, or getting a security clearance. It's not uncommon. A new government study to be released tomorrow indicates as many as 40 million Americans have a mistake on their credit report. 20 million have significant mistakes. And our own investigation of the credit reporting industry shows that those mistakes can be nearly impossible to get removed from your record.
The story will continue in a moment. Consumer credit reporting is a $4 billion a year industry dominated by 3 large companies, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. They keep files on 200 million Americans and traffic in our financial reputations. They make their money gathering information from people we do business with and selling it to banks, merchants, insurance companies, and employers. And they use it to make judgments about our creditworthiness and reliability. But now the reliability of the industry is being questioned in an 8-year Federal Trade Commission study to be released tomorrow. John Leibowitz is the chairman.
Here's what we found. Some pretty troubling information. 1 out of 5 Americans has an error on their credit report. And 1 out of 10 has an error on their credit report that might lower their credit score.
I'm trying to think of another industry where a 20% error rate would be acceptable. That's a pretty high error rate.
It's a pretty high error rate. I think the more we look at this, and the more the American people know about this, the madder they're going to get.
Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine has opened his own investigation into the credit reporting industry, which for years has blamed mistakes on banks and merchants that provide them with bad information. But DeWine argues the fault lies with the industry for what he says are clear violations of the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Do these companies have a legal responsibility to make sure that the information is accurate?
Yes. The federal law says that if you believe that there is a mistake, you can go to them and they have an obligation to do a reasonable investigation. They're not doing a reasonable investigation. They're not doing an investigation at all.
Every day, DeWine's office fields...
Oh, sorry. Sounds good. It's over now.
We live in an age where much of what goes on in our daily lives is monitored, collected, and sold to interested parties. Our driving records, our medical history, our internet traffic, and most importantly, our credit information. A mistake on your credit report can cost you money. It can increase the interest you pay on your loans, prevent you from getting a mortgage or buying a car, landing a job, or getting a security clearance. It's not uncommon. A new government study to be released tomorrow indicates as many as 40 million Americans have a mistake on their credit report. 20 million have significant mistakes. And our own investigation of the credit reporting industry shows that those mistakes can be nearly impossible to get removed from your record.
The story will continue in a moment.
Consumer credit reporting is a $4 billion a year industry dominated by 3 large companies, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. They keep files on 200 million Americans and traffic in our financial reputations. They make their money gathering information from people we do business with and selling it to banks, merchants, insurance companies, and employers. And they use it to make judgments about our creditworthiness and reliability. But now the reliability of the industry is being questioned in an 8-year Federal Trade Commission study to be released tomorrow. John Leibowitz is the chairman.
Here's what we found. Some pretty troubling information. 1 out of 5 Americans has an error on their credit report. And 1 out of 10 has an error on their credit report that might lower their credit score.
I'm trying to think of another industry where a 20% error rate would be acceptable. That's a pretty high error rate.
It's a pretty high error rate. I think the more we look at this, and the more the American people know about this, the madder they're going to get.
Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine has opened his own investigation into the credit reporting industry, which for years has blamed mistakes on banks and merchants that provide them with bad information. But DeWine argues the fault lies with the industry for what he says are clear violations of the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Do these companies have a legal responsibility to make sure that the information is accurate?
The federal law says that if you believe that there is a mistake, you can go to them and they have an obligation to do a reasonable investigation. They're not doing a reasonable investigation. They're not doing an investigation at all.
Every day, DeWine's office fields calls from desperate constituents who can't get the credit reporting agencies to answer their questions or correct mistakes on their report, like paid bills listed as delinquent, closed accounts listed as open, and bad debts that belong to other people with similar names or social security numbers.
Yes. The problem is not that they make mistakes, it's they won't fix the mistakes. It literally is like this, guy behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. You really don't know what he's doing. It really is a secret operation that is so hard to crack.
8 million people a year file disputes about their credit report, which usually requires a visit to the Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax websites. They're primarily designed to sell you premium products, not resolve a dispute.
Sell you
which is what I
something.
was trying to do. There's a toll-free number you can call, which is likely to connect you to someone on a faraway continent.
Thank you for calling. My name is Gabriel. How can I help you? Where are you located? India. India?
But regardless of where they are or who you talk to, they won't be much help.
So really, you can't do anything for me. I've just been talking to you for 15 minutes. I mean, the only thing you could do is to tell me to fill it out online.
Yes, Mr. Croft.
And the reason they tell you to fill it out online is because it's multiple choice there online, which reduces the number of rights that you have if you were to put the dispute in writing.
Besides the toll-free number, they also give you a post office box address where you can send a letter and documents supporting your claim. In each case, it's extremely unlikely that anyone with the authority to resolve your dispute will ever actually see it.
Ask Sandra Cortez, a California accountant, whose credit report confused her with an international drug trafficker. It took her 5 years to get it fixed. Or David Smith, the retired Army officer, whose credit report listed a bankruptcy that wasn't his and triggered a foreclosure proceeding against his house in South Carolina. He's still dealing with the fallout. Or Judy Thomas, a trauma nurse with a horror story worthy of Hitchcock or Kafka.
There's nobody to go to. There's nobody. You just keep making phone calls and you just keep writing disputes and you keep sending them your social security number and they don't care.
Thomas, who manages 2 medical centers near Cleveland, says it all began in 1999 when she went shopping for a new dress and applied for a store credit card to get a 15% discount. She was denied.
Was that the first time you'd ever been denied credit?
Yes, very first time. Ever.
But certainly not the last. It became a regular occurrence. The personal credit reports she got from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax were all clean and without blemish. Yet she kept getting rejected and couldn't find out why.
I would get a consumer report and it would look fine. I would go to the bank and they would tell me, oh no, you have all this debt. But
now, a consumer report is different than a credit report. A consumer report is what comes from the credit bureau. It's more comprehensive. A credit report is what's purchased by a vendor, okay? And they are by law not allowed to show you your credit report or give it to you. That's why if you ask for it, they'll say no, and if you ask them what's on it, they'll tell you to consult the bureau that they got it from. It's a secret operation, okay?
They wouldn't tell you what the debt was. And they wouldn't give you a copy of the report that they had.
No.
It took Judy Thomas several years to discover what almost no one knows, that the credit reports the agencies send to you are different than the ones they sell to banks, merchants, and mortgage brokers. And she only found that out when a loan officer left her file on his desk and walked out of the room.
The first thing that's different is it doesn't have a score. The consumer report that comes from the bureau doesn't have a score. The credit report always has a score, okay? And the score is the determining factor in most cases of why you're declined through the automated system. If there's an underwriter reviewing your report, which is somebody that works with the vendor to determine if you're worthy based on other factors, income, time on job, character, references, okay? Previous credit.
I saw debt from Utah Medical Center. I saw debt from a veterinarian clinic in Utah. I saw collections for a Judith Kendall.
Judith Kendall. Not Judy Thomas.
Correct.
What's going through your mind?
What the hell is she doing on my credit report? What the hell is her debt doing on my credit report?
You think this would be very simple to get straightened out?
You would think. Yeah, you would think. This is my Judy Thomas versus Judith Kendall file.
Instead, it became a 6-year battle with credit agencies, requiring box loads of correspondence to try and prove that she was Judy Thomas, not.
Why would it take 6 years if the statute of limitation is almost 7, and in many states it's less than 7? The federal statute is 7 to 10 years for a negative debt. Public record, 10 years. Anything that's non-public, a public record is anything you have to go to court for. Okay, judgment, tax lien, foreclosure, child support, public record. Non-public record is anything that a judge did not adjudicate. That's 7 years, 10 years for public records. So if it took almost 6 years, most states have a statute less than 6 years. State of Nevada is 6 years. Okay, North Carolina is 3 years.
All to no avail.
You got a lot of time invested in this. How important are these documents?
It's my life.
There are logs of daily phone calls to dispute centers, hundreds of letters to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, even correspondence from Judith Kendall's creditors in Utah, acknowledging that the debts on her credit report aren't hers.
I would get letters back from these companies saying this, in fact, is not you.
You still couldn't get it off your credit report?
No, I sent copies to the credit bureaus, and they would come back as mine, verified, verified. I also hired a local attorney to try and straighten it out. We had everything certified, that this is Judy Thomas, this is where I live. I've never gone by the name of Kendall. I've never even been to Utah, let alone owing a cable company in Utah.
And what happened?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
What kind of problems did this cause for you?
I couldn't refinance. I couldn't take advantage of the interest rates. I couldn't get a car. I couldn't co-sign for my children's student loans. And I worked hard for my credit. And these people were taking it away from me.
Finally, Judy Thomas took the only recourse available to her. She sued Equifax and TransUnion in federal court. And after a year-long battle, the credit reporting agency settled for an undisclosed sum and promised to clean up her file.
Did you think it was going to take a federal lawsuit?
Heck no, it just takes a human being going, wow, this isn't Judith Kendall, let me fix this. That's all I had to do.
But as we discovered, that almost never happens.
If you challenge a credit report and mail your information to a post office box in the United States, the dispute will likely be investigated in India or the Philippines or South America. We travel 5,000 miles to the Chilean capital of Santiago, where we track down 3 former Experian employees.
Listen up.
Carolina Herrera, Rodolfo Carrasco, and Enzo Valdivia were all dispute agents at Experian's National Consumer Assistance Center, although they say they weren't able to offer consumers much assistance.
So if somebody had a problem with their credit report, they would send in a complaint and it would end up with you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So how many of these did you have to do a day?
90.
90.
Did you consider yourself investigators?
No.
Did you have any way to investigate these claims?
No, we didn't. You can call the person.
You can't pick up the phone and call?
No.
Did you have phones?
No.
No.
Could you email them?
No.
Did you have the authority to say, wait a minute, after looking at somebody's file and say that, you know, this is somebody made a mistake, this person doesn't owe this money?
We didn't have the power.
All they did was read the disputes and reduce them to a 2-digit code like never late or not mine. It was then sent with a 2 or 3 line summary and no documentation back to the bank or department store that furnished the original information.
If there was a difference of opinion between the creditor and the person who was filing the complaint, how was it usually resolved in favor of the creditor?
Yeah. The creditor was always right. Mostly we took for granted the word of the bank. If the bank said, hey, this guy owns $100, so it is.
None of us have ever interviewed anybody in Chile from Experian. And we've got a federal court ordering them to bring these people forward, and we're still waiting.
Much of what's known about the inner workings of the consumer credit agencies come out of lawsuits filed by Len Bennett and Sylvia Goldsmith, who have subpoenaed company records and deposed employees and executives. They say under the current system, there is no way for people like Judy Thomas to get their problem solved.
So all these people who take the time to meticulously document a case that the bill isn't theirs or the bill has been paid, that is never seen by anybody?
It's not seen by anyone who considers it in determining whether or not information will be removed from a credit report.
It's not forwarded on to the person who has the complaint with you?
No, it's never forwarded on. Never forwarded on
can get a jury verdict for $1 million. That's chump change to some of these bureaus. They would rather pay a verdict in $1 million than to actually go in and change the policies and procedures that they have, because that's much more expensive to them.
I can say this without qualification. The dispute procedures used by the credit reporting agencies, uniformly used, completely fail to comply with the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Fail to
Courts have
comply.
found that. The Federal Trade Commission has found that. It's not even a close call.
Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine agreed.
I think the industry is a mess, and I think the impact it has on real people is just unconscionable.
You think they're breaking the law?
I think they're breaking the law. There is no doubt in my mind they are breaking the law.
We wanted to talk to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, but like most consumers, we were unsuccessful. The agencies referred us to the spokesman for their lobbying group in Washington. He too declined our request for an on-camera interview, but did provide a written statement, citing an industry-sponsored survey that showed 95% of its customers were satisfied with the dispute process. The industry maintains it's in compliance with federal law.
All right.
Go to 60minutesovertime.com.
This video is from 2013.
If you think there's a mistake.
But it's still current. Let's quickly review it. 40 million mistakes. 1 out of 5 Americans have errors on their reports. 7 out of 10 have errors that might cause their credit scores to decrease. 8 million people file disputes every year. The call centers are, for the credit repair companies, the credit bureaus are normally out of the country. All right, the credit reports are sent to the consumers are different than the credit reports that the lenders show you, because one's a consumer report and one's a credit report. Remember, one has a score, and it's when you're applying for credit, and then the other is from the credit bureau when you're just interested in reviewing what's on your report. Okay? The disputes are investigated outside of the United States. Okay? The disputes agents are not able to call or email the consumer to ask questions. You've never had a credit bureau call you. Okay? The disputes are reduced to a 3-digit code, and that's through what they call an e-Oscar machine. E-Oscar is how the creditors and the credit bureaus speak to each other. It's like text messaging, okay? And they use codes. 2 to 3-digit codes, is about 26 of them. You see them on your credit report sometimes, but the codes that they're talking about are the codes that are behind the scenes, that are like 2 numbers that give a description, a paragraph, almost a statement of description in those 2 numbers, okay? You gotta know those codes if you're gonna do underwriting. The credit bureaus side with the creditors, not the consumers. And the dispute procedures used by the credit bureaus fail to comply with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. We're going to talk about that. But there's a couple things I must say before we go into this. I'm not an attorney. I must give you a disclaimer. I'm going to sound like an attorney sometimes in this meeting, but I'm not. I'm just going to be reviewing some law with you, okay? So please know that anything that I'm telling you here is my expert opinion from doing this for 11 years and firsthand doing it for myself. There's no one in this room that's had worse credit than me. And 99% of this people in this room right now do not have better credit than I have right now, okay? And what happened to me was this company. That's it. No special knowledge, no special talent, just what I learned here, okay? Let's start from the end now. What would you get if you came to our office? This is what we see on an average, virtually 90 points in 90 days. Some of the reviews and testimonials that you saw of clients that we had playing when you came in this room, the rave reviews that we have over 300 individuals on video that have come into our office, gone through our program, and allowed us to take them in our studio in the back of the office and state when they got their results, the completion of their results over the 4 months of our program. They were so excited that they did a video testimonial, and we recorded it. And the beautiful thing about it is, we think it carries more weight than a written testimonial. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you agree if you saw 300 people on a video that you could believe that was real versus 300 written? All right, 90 points in 90 days, or 50 to 90% deletions in 120 days. That's what we're seeing on average. And we suspect that virtually everyone in this room will get the same results, because we're following the same process. It's not cookie cutter. all right? But it is a process. Next, here are few of the people, for some of you that didn't see them when you came in earlier.
Gabriel, I find this hard to believe. You can take someone who's got poor credit and potentially, not potentially, that's what I want to believe, but I've seen the proof. You take their credit score and raise it 10 to 50 points.
Feels really good. My scores have never been this high.
My credit score has increased 136 points.
They also raised my credit score about 100 points.
I came in here with probably 400 credit scores. It was awful, but right now I'm in the low 700s.
And this is not over a long period. That's amazing.
I was able to buy my house, and my credit score was 754.
The help that Vivix provided, I was very satisfied.
I feel like you guys are excellent. Anybody that have problem with credit, they should come and see you guys.
Where do I go to learn more about your systems?
You can go to our website where I have some free gifts there.
Okay? Now let's go through what you should make sure of before you deal with any company to work on your credit. This is extremely important, guys. Your identity is worth more on the black market than whatever you're paying a credit repair company. Your driver's license and social security number and card, pictures of those is what you give to a credit repair company. All right, and on the black market, that's worth thousands. Thousands. So when you're out searching for credit repair and you're looking for the $39 a month company or the $29 a month company or the $19.99 a month company, you're basically giving your identity to them. And if you're not impressed by their presentation, the setup that they have at their office, okay, and their process, then if identity theft is the #1 crime in America according to the FBI, how easy is it for your information to get out on the black market? Okay? Be very careful, people. This is like surrendering your health to someone. The first thing you want to make sure that a company has is a license. You can't do this because you're a nice person. You can't do this because you're a financial planner, a realtor, a mortgage professional, a CPA. You must do this by license only. And the license that is required here ends in .255. It's a credit service organization license. The category is called credit bureau. We have a credit bureau license, but we're not a credit bureau, okay? All right, don't let that title fool you. Credit bureau reports about your relationship with them. We have a credit bureau license that gives us the ability to communicate to the credit bureaus on your behalf, but we can't report for you, okay? We're bonded and registered with the Mortgage Lending Division. Now, there's some people that have licenses, companies, I should say, that have licenses that have lost their bonds. How would you know? If you don't go to the Mortgage Lending Division, you wouldn't know. If you just went to the licensing bureaus, okay, that could fool you to believe that they are probably in good standings because they have a license. But the Mortgage Lending Division who carries the bond, there's a little lag between their communication with the licensing bureau. So you can go to the Mortgage Lending Division and get a list of every credit repair company that is licensed and has the bond. Make sure that the company's FICO certified. The individuals there have a little bit more insight than just what we teach at the office. Because what we teach you at the office, anyone can learn. It's all scripted. Everything we do is scripted. Call our office and ask us some questions. You're going to run right into a script because that's important. You don't want to have people on the phone just saying anything, okay? Members of the National Association of Credit Service Organizations. Why is that important? We're the only CSO, credit service organization in the state of Nevada and some of the neighboring states that have that distinction. That's a group of attorneys that are advocates for the credit repair industry that are trying to run out of business the companies that are just not ethical. Because they pose a problem for the entire industry, all right? So we have that distinction. We're accredited with the Better Business Bureau. We're a member of the Ethical Credit Repair Alliance. We've partnered with the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors, okay? Clark County Education Association. We do financial literacy workshop for the babies. You get credit cards when you're 18, all right? Before you have a job. I had 5 in my pocket before I had a job on my way to college. No one teaches you how to handle credit, okay? So we go to the schools and teach the babies about credit. I say babies, they're in our mid-40s. But anyone that's 20, 18, 19, to me, they're young people, okay? All right, Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce, okay? Those are some of our distinctions. This is some things that I'm proud of. When I first started here, this company, I was homeless. I lived in the park on 215 in Town Center. I was very comfortable in that park because there's tennis courts there, and I played tennis when I was a youngster. I didn't play basketball, I played tennis. I lived in the park for 4.5 months. I moved from the East Coast. I was struggling. You know, I got my education, got my degree, I did well, but I tried to reinvent myself midlife, around 27 years old, tried to reinvent myself, and I couldn't keep up with the lifestyle I created because I was making a lot of money doing promotion work. And my father's a pastor, my grandfather's a pastor, and they didn't want to see me in the streets. They thought I was going to be a pastor. I was the first from my family to graduate from college, and they thought, having done that, I was going to go to seminary school, and I didn't. I went to graduate school, and ended up getting into the promotion business, making really good money, about $15,000 a day from Tuesdays to Sundays. And I got hooked on that. And when my grandfather and my father kind of turned their back on me, it broke my heart because they were my heroes. So I had to reinvent myself. So I got out of that promotion business, and both of them passed before I had a chance to show them I was going to follow their footsteps. Not fully, not go to the pulpit, but to start learning and traveling and walking the life that they thought I would lead. So I ran out of money when I stopped doing promotion work, got evicted from my penthouse, lost all my expensive cars, clothes, everything. Ended up hanging out from friend to friend's house, ended up on my mother's couch. After 2 months, my mother put me out. She said, "You're a man, you can't live here anymore, you gotta go out and do what we raised you to be, was to be a man." So I took a one-way trip to Las Vegas. I took a pair of True Religion jeans back to Nordstrom's, took a one-way trip to Vegas, trying to, break my mother's heart or make her feel sorrowful for me having put me out. And when I got here to Vegas, I had no plan. I ended up walking the streets for 4.5 months, talking to myself and living in the park. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. It was a reset for me, okay? So I got a job at this company, actually looking for a place to use the restroom after I left the park. I was walking eastbound on Flamingo, across Fort Apache, and I was 86 out of the Smith from going in there, using the restroom and eating their grapes and peaches while I was walking around. You did that as a child. So I went to this office park called Flamingo Trails, and the gentleman there thought that I was a person that had contacted them on the phone looking for directions for a job interview. And he asked me, "Are you the gentleman that just called on the phone?" And I was like, "Yes, I gotta use the restroom." I said, "I'll speak with you as soon as I freshen up. Where's the restroom?" I came out of the restroom. He was in this conference room similar to this, sat me down and said, "Why should I hire you?" And I thought to myself, "Oh, I'm in a job interview." I didn't know. And so I said, "Because if you hire me, you won't have to work." Best line I ever had clarity to say to someone that wants to hire you. That's all you have to tell them. If you hire me, you won't have to work. Every employer on the planet, that's all they want. So after working here for 10 years, I ended up going back to look back over all the questions I've been asked, frequently asked questions, and I wanted to impress my father and my grandfather, so I wrote a book, From Homeless to Blackcards. That book is 46 paragraphs about all the 46 questions that were asked of me for 10 years by all of the prospects, leads, and people that have become clients of Vivix Credit Solutions. I was proud of that. My daughter designed the cover. Because of that book, she's now writing her first book. The second book I wrote was Creating Customers for Life. That was because a lot of people that came to our office looking for our assistance had challenges with their credit, but they were entrepreneurs or business owners. And they were losing their clientele, or they were not able to fund their businesses because they couldn't acquire loans. And so I wrote that book, Creating Customers for Life, to help those individuals. And I'm very excited about that. That's my second born there. My first job was From Homeless to Blackcards. Then the third book, I wrote from my heart because this is how I felt when I was living in the park. Discredit to A+ credit. And that's why these workshops are going on, because now I want to tell people and teach people how to fix their credit themselves. I'm not interested in selling anyone in here something today. I want to give you all the information to go out and fix your credit yourself. And I'm gonna try to do that, okay? Let's go on. Now, I had worse credit than most of you. When I showed up in this town, I had 49 negative accounts. I remember I had all the credit cards in my pocket and I was losing everything. And this is my billfold. I had a Coach wallet at the time. And these are all the actual credit cards that I had in my pocket when I showed up here in this town. And you can see, I had them all. And there's about another 30 that are not there. I had American Express Gold, had the green. I had Capital One Gold, the green. I had a Bank of America Platinum card, Bank of America Gold, Chevy Chase, SunTrust, Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus, Shell, Circuit City, Saks, Bloomingdale's. I had them all. And I defaulted. Everything. I had $200,000 in cars. I defaulted on a S-Class and a Range Rover. So my credit was in bad shape. I had a 400 score. These are the actual reports. Everything I'm going to tell you here today, I'm going to prove it to you. Okay, I was a 486 when I touched down in Las Vegas. After getting a job here, in 6 months, the program was 6 months back then. Now it's 4 months, okay? After 6 months of the program, I had a 715. Changed my life. I had a 12-year-old daughter in Virginia, who her mother married another man. That's what sent me on this crazy thing. She married another man, and I came from a family where my father got married at 16. My daddy was 18, he married my mother at 16. And my dad was a baggage boy at a grocery store. My mother didn't have to work. She had 4 boys, okay? And that's all my dad asked her to be, was to be a woman. That's all I want you to be the woman, I'll be the man. And he would argue with her because she wanted to get a job. And he fought, don't work, I don't want you to work. And so he was bagging groceries at a grocery store, and I'll never forget when multiple sclerosis took him down and he couldn't work anymore because he was dragging his leg as he walked. It went from a limp to a drag until finally the doctor called his job and said, you can't work anymore, don't let him go, you can't. And my dad was upset about that, so it really touched me. And instantly I wanted to be a manager of a grocery store. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make my dad proud. I wanted to be a manager of a grocery store. Tears me up now. So, as a result of that, my mom did get a job. He allowed her to get a job because he was in a wheelchair. He couldn't do it anymore. And my mom became a housekeeper. And around that time, I was about 7 years old, and she would take me to these rich people's houses. She cleaned 2 doctors and 1 attorney's house. We lived in a house, 6 of us, the size of this conference room. And I always asked my mom, why is it their house is so much bigger than ours? You know, why can they live on the beach and we can't? And she would just always tell me, be quiet, be quiet. She never answered, just be quiet. So finally, if you'll just indulge me for a couple more seconds here, finally, in going with her to those doctors and those attorneys' houses, they would take me, the men of the house would take me into their library and talk to me and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would say, I want to be a manager of a grocery store. And they would say, no, I'm sure you can do better than that. And I would think that they were slighting my father. I would think that they were speaking, against my father. And after working on me for many, many months, they made me believe that I could do better than that. And so I started going back to my home and saying I'm going to be a doctor. And then sometimes I would say I'm going to be a lawyer. Depends on how I felt that day. And it changed my trajectory. I became friends with their children and started hanging out with them at the country clubs, started playing tennis. The doctors and lawyers would play tennis with me. They would take me to see other doctors and lawyers that played tennis. I got pretty good at playing tennis. I could hit the cover off the tennis ball. And whoever picked me to play with them always won. And it was something that changed my life. And so when their kids went to college, after we became friends and close, I went to be a manager of a shoe store. And they would come by the shoe store, you're better than this. And I would try to send them on because I wanted some money. And they convinced me to go to college. So I ended up going to college. And then when they graduated from college and I graduated, they went to law school or medical school, and so they convinced me to go to the next school. So anyway, that's how my trajectories changed. And that's how I became the first graduate from college in my family. So 6 months, thank you for indulging me. 6 months, my score went to a 715. Now, why are the other scores still low? 553, 553. It's because we, back then, only worked on one bureau at a time. So we'll work on TransUnion and stagger it, and then work on Equifax, and then stagger it and work on Experian. Now we work on all 3 bureaus at the same time, okay? So, you'll see my scores went from 745, 715, 745, 553 to 628, 553 to 712, then, boom. 810, 843, 816. I've been 800 since 2009. Okay? I get anything I want when I go out now and I apply, and I have a black card. I don't just say it, I do. I have 2. And that's important because if you're going to say you can do it, you must demonstrate it too. And I don't show that to be braggadocious. I show that to say that's the highest level of credit card you can have in your pocket. Okay? I can show you my loans, 0%. All right? Here's my Equifax results. I show you the results, I show you the deletions. 180 days. Experian. Deleted, 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 deleted. These are my actual results. I have them in those stacks right there. Everything that you see in those stacks are the results that I got from 6 months of service in this program. I kept it all. I don't know why, but I did. But now it becomes actually my testimony. I can show you that it works. All right, TransUnion. I'll never forget when I got these deletions, I was living with 4 young men, I think the oldest was 21 years old, and I was excited from being able to get out of the park. I was living under the bench. If you ever have to live in the park, live under the bench, because anyone that comes after you, they have to reach through the bench to get you. And the bench feels like a shelter around you, okay? You'll feel comforted by being with something, a structure around you. So I lived under the bench, all right? I never forget when I was finally able to get out of the park. I moved in with 4 youngsters over in North Las Vegas, 6448 North Bruce Street. It's a nice little, ranch-style house. They had 2 pit bulls that they didn't control. And I didn't have insurance. I was afraid of both dogs, and they thought it was a joke. Because I was 32 years old and they were in their 20s. They thought it was a joke that every time I would come out of the room, these dogs would try to attack me and they wouldn't stop them. And I thought that they were using weed for medicinal reasons, but no, they were selling it and using it, okay? I was so happy when I got these results because I was able to move into my first apartment here at the Canyon Villas, right there on Alta and Town Center. It was right before the Red Rock was built. All right, now let's get into this. Fraud alerts. The reason why you saw Judith Kendall, or the young lady that was on the 60 Minutes video, having challenges with getting some of those items deleted that didn't belong to her, the first thing that you must do is put a fraud alert on your file, a security alert. Listen, I'm going to give you all the tips. I'm going to give you exactly what we do. I'm not telling you, this is not a workshop. I'm giving you the actual process that we do, okay? So if you want to fix your credit for free, pay attention to these. FBI says identity theft is the #1 crime in America. It says that on your credit reports. The first thing you want to do before you start disputing something on your report is put a security alert on your file. Okay, they also call it a fraud alert. It's free. You can call the 1-800 numbers and put them on your reports. Now, this is something that you should not take lightly. If you have kids, any of you, if you have kids, or if you have parents that are elderly, or if you have family members that are active duty, you should have security alerts on their files, especially children. Someone can live in your child's name for 18 years before you wake up and realize that someone has their social, has fished it off the internet or wherever they get them from, and has been living in your child's name. Someone could be applying for credit in your mama's name, and you know your mama don't deserve that, right? And she doesn't know that she can have a security alert on her file that will have a PIN number, so whenever she wants to get credit, it requires the PIN number to access her credit report. Why would you want your mother or your father to go through that when you can just make a quick call with them and they can come up with a nice number that they can remember, that whenever they want to apply for some credit, they give that number and their file is open. If that number is not provided, their file stays closed. Your children, the same way. You call on behalf of your children and put an extended alert on their file so no one can use their credit. Okay? Sad to say, my mother had about 6 or 7 bills in my name. I thought I was getting letters every month from friends. Sometimes the mailman would give me the mail. And they were not letters, they were bills that were in my name. So protect your children. Okay? The extended fraud alert is 7 years. The 90-day alert, okay, that falls off in 90 days. You'll have to keep adding it. And some of you think LifeLock, you should pay for that. No, you shouldn't. LifeLock was sued in 2012 by Experian because LifeLock was using fraud alerts and security alerts to protect their files and was selling you the service for $15 a month. And all they were doing was adding a security alert or fraud alert to protect your file. And Experian said they were losing a lot of business because of that, and LifeLock was making millions, and they got sued, and LifeLock can't do it anymore. Okay, so that's what your LifeLock is, your security alert or your fraud alert. All right? Now, these are some of the breaches. So don't say, well, you know, I don't use my credit very much, so it's not going to happen to me. I don't apply for a lot of stuff, so it's not going to happen to me. No. Trying to stay out of the credit industry still can affect you. Experian was hacked. IRS, do you not file your taxes? Okay. Anthem, do you have health insurance? Okay. OPM, Verizon, Wendy's, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Harvard, Army National Guard, Target, Home Depot. Okay. Depot doesn't have a T up there because I spelled it like I said, Depot. All right. FBI's portal. The FBI was hacked. Trump's Hotel, Sands, CVS, Walgreens, and UCLA. All right? Here we go. These are the 4 things you can do to repair your credit. Just do nothing for 7 to 10 years. I just wait it out. Okay? But that really doesn't work either. Because as the statute of limitation is approaching, the collection agency that has your file sells it to another collection agency for even less than what they paid for it. So just doing nothing is not going to help you. And also, the credit bureaus are not arbitrarily removing it from your file even though the law says they should. Why? Why are the credit bureaus not trying to help you? Does anyone know? Give me a good answer.
They want to stay in business.
They want to stay in business. Why are the credit bureaus not trying to help you? Why? Anyone?
We're not paying them the merchant so.
That's right. She got it. They're getting paid a fee to report about you. And you know what's really interesting about it? They collect your information for free from other places and then sell it back to you. They sell it back to you. And then guess what? Then they get paid by the creditors, as she said, to report it. That's why they don't want to change it, because if they change it, that means now they're not getting paid that monthly fee. So they'd rather have you fight with the creditor. So when you call the credit bureau and you say there's something inaccurate on my credit file, I need you to take care of it. What do they tell you? Call the creditor. Call the creditor. Well, you're reporting it. The Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act gives you more onus to deal with it than the creditor. And they'll say call the creditor. Or they just won't resolve your issue. All right? The second thing is file bankruptcy. That shouldn't be file bankruptcy. That should be apply for bankruptcy. You can't just file anymore just because you think you deserve to. You're applying for bankruptcy now. Anybody say that's untrue? All right. Can you be declined from having a bankruptcy? Yes. Yes, you can be declined. This gentleman knows. You just don't deserve to file bankruptcy. You got to apply. Debt negotiation. That's not a bad one. Does anyone know how to do debt negotiation? You do it in exchange. Yes, sir. You do it in exchange for a letter of deletion. You just don't pay your debts. When you call to negotiate them, in exchange for a letter of deletion. And this is how you do it. You say, hey, listen, I would like to resolve a debt that I have with you. All right? Are you the person in charge that I can discuss this with? And they'll say, yes or no. All right, in most cases, they're not. You want to talk to a manager of a collection agency. When you get them on the phone, you say, hey, I want to pay 10, 20 cents on the dollar for this, all right, in exchange for a letter of deletion. If they say, okay, we'll do that, you say, all right, send me a letter of intent by email that if I pay you right now, I have my credit card in my hand, if I pay you right now, you will delete it. That's how you do it. Don't wait for the deletion letter in the mail. They'll never send it. Get the letter of intent. If you get that letter of intent, Argonne Collection Agency intends to delete this in exchange for 10 cents on the dollar. And in return for the payment, we will delete the account. And they have the account number there. It's important, okay? Credit repair, that's the best one. That's the best option. Why? Because you get federal rights to dispute anything on your credit report. Now, what you all think is that credit repair companies dispute something and say it's not yours. No, no, no. That's juvenile. We're not disputing that it's not your account, sir. We're disputing how it's being reported. Okay? 4 provisions of the law protect you even when you rightfully owe the debt. The first one is, if the information is inaccurately reported, the law says it must be deleted. Inaccurately reported. 79% of everyone in the Bureau has inaccurate information on their credit reports. So you already have an 80-20 chance. Okay? The next is, if the information is unverifiable. You remember there was a time where people that had mortgages that were trying to get out of the debt would say, produce the note. They would tell the mortgage servicer, produce the note. And because the notes have been fractionalized and sold so many times that nobody knows what the original note is, that if they couldn't produce the note, it would be deleted until the mortgage companies and the mortgage servicers got wind of it and stopped it. But a lot of people got out of pain because they couldn't produce the note. And I'm going to give you some really good tips at the end of this that will help you clean your own credit. And it's right in front of your eyes in the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It's right there, okay? All right, so the third is if the information is questionable. If anything that you question the credit bureaus or the creditors about on your credit that they cannot answer, excuse me if I'm talking fast, I want to keep you up. All right, if they cannot answer the questions that you ask within 30 days, they must remove the accounts that you sent questions about. Okay? So you can ask any questions you want. Submit them, and if they cannot answer them in 30 days. Now, if you submit 2 sets of questions within a 30-day calendar, they get an additional 15 days. So that's why you must schedule your disputes not too tightly together, because you don't want to overlap one dispute within a 30-day calendar of the other, because then you give them an extra 15 days, or they will say that it is a frivolous dispute because you already sent it. Yes, sir. All right? The fourth is if the information is obsolete, older than the statute of limitation for the state that the debt originated in. Now, you all know the federal statute, 7 or 10 years, because we hear you saying that all the time. But the state statutes are much less. 6 years here in the state of Nevada, 3 years in North Carolina. And I'm going to give you the statute, well, actually the statute of limitations are in your packet. Okay? So know your statutes. All right? Let's revisit this. In 120 days, virtually all of our clients get 50 to 90% of their accounts deleted. From all 3 bureaus. All 3 bureaus. Now, there's about 72 companies holding themselves out to be credit repair companies on the internet. I don't know how you guys found this, but 72 companies are holding themselves out to be credit repair companies. Guess what? There are only 11 that have a physical office, and only 22 of those companies are legally licensed to do credit repair. So what are the 50, who are the 50 other companies that are marketing on the internet, that are luring you in? Why are they interested against the federal law, because we're federally regulated, to hold themselves out to be credit repair companies? I'd say they're trying to collect driver's license, social security numbers, okay, from all those that are unknowing, okay? And that's tens of thousands on the black market, okay? None of them are NACSO rated. We already talked about that. Listen to this.
student loan, and move on with my life.
From a 614 all the way to a 794. At 117 things on my credit, they were able to remove 89 of them.
I actually just got approved for a car.
72% of my collection items and wiped them from my accounts.
So that's 70% of my negative accounts deleted.
249 points increase.
They have 113.3.
And now they deleted 122, so it's like 90% of my bad credit.
85% of my credit is bad credit.
I was able to purchase a car and take a loan.
They were able to take 50% of all my inquiries and have them deleted.
Bankruptcy, charging off, a lot of negative stuff on that means they're losing 80% of negative activity that was on my credit.
3 ways to describe its credit, and my foreclosure has been deleted forever, and I'm so happy.
Her foreclosure was deleted in 3 weeks. She couldn't believe it. She had been trying to buy another house, okay? Here we go. Why do we show proof in these proof books? Hang in here with me, guys. The gifts are coming. We show more proof than any other company in the business. Why? Because the industry was stripped of using the word guarantee. We can't use it. So many companies in this industry guaranteed your result that it started having customers complain because they hung their hats on those guarantees. They believed wholeheartedly they were going to clear their credit. So now the only thing we can do is show proof. And we have so many proof books that one gentleman said to us, how do we know that these aren't Photoshop? With people's names and addresses on all these books and all their deletions, the serial numbers from the credit reports. That's right there. I just gave you a clue. The young lady that was doing the disputes through the 60 Minutes, if you add the serial number with the disputes, that will also take your file to another level of service in the credit bureaus. Because when you have their serial numbers on your disputes, it shows that you are authenticating what's on your credit report was given to you by that credit bureau, okay? So we show proof because we don't want to use the word guarantee. If any of you have sat in any consultation with us and you say, well, can you guarantee me the result? I'll pay you right now. Well, we will not say, try us, okay? We will not say the word guarantee, okay? I have to show you these reviews because if I don't, they're only 60 seconds. If I don't, you won't believe it.
Good. I mean, everything that you said you were going to do, you've done so far. And my credit score has went up.
By the first treatment, the Weath credit solution removed everything.
30 days.
So I'm really happy, and I'm waiting to get more improvement.
I came here in January and had a really bad credit. And so far, everything's going really good. I got 60% off my credit bureau
30 days.
stuff. And I'm really happy.
I'm just totally shocked. I don't know. I'm happy, but really, now I can buy my wife a house that she wanted. We used to have a house, but I'm just happy. I mean, it works. I'm telling you guys, it works.
We were able to delete 70% of the bad credit, and happy. Thanks.
All right. We already discussed that. I'm not going to show you this video. That's me doing a talk. This is something that's more so sincere to us. Is you must say to each client they have the right to dispute their credit themselves. And you must tell them how to do it. That's your consumer credit card rights. Anyone that makes you believe that what they're doing is a special talent is just using that to hold it above you to get you to pay them. If I can tell you how to do it yourself, I'll tell you and not charge you anything, okay? But if you forfeit that right because you just don't want to put the time in or the effort, that's not a problem, we'll do it for you, okay? Any contract that you sign with a credit bureau company or credit repair company, you have 3 days to terminate that contract. We give you 5 here in our office. We don't want to, put you under the pressure of 3. We give you 5 days, okay? So you can do this yourself. All you have to do is go to the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and read those laws and write your letters and use the law in your letters, okay? And a couple other nuances that you got to know too. I'm going to tell you those as well. All right, this is the entire Consumer Credit File Rights. Okay, that's the entire law right there for you. Okay. All right, now let's go through the 3 steps that we take to clean credit. You first must know how to review your credit report. All right, that's half of the battle, reviewing the credit report. We call it a credit file audit, and we do that for everyone here. We order your reports from the credit bureaus. We do not use Credit Check Total, Credit Karma. We don't use those. We'll pull those online for you in our consultation to review your credit, but when we start disputing, we order it from the bureaus so we can get those serial numbers off of reports, and they're more comprehensive reports. They're called consumer reports, remember? The second thing is we reveal to you in the credit file audit or the credit coaching that we do once we get those credit reports in the mail, because everything comes to you. Nothing comes to us. All the work we do comes to your house firsthand. So we're not doing this on your behalf and all the documents are coming to us and you're left in the dark. You're bringing the documents to us and we're reviewing them with you. So you're feeling how the process is working for you. All right, and when we reveal to you the dispute strategy, you agree or disagree. The reason I say that is some people don't want to dispute a tax lien. They're in a compromise, offering compromise with the IRS, so why am I disputing that? Okay, so some people don't want to dispute child support. They don't want that. Some people don't want to dispute a medical bill that they may be in negotiations with. So that's why we say we reveal the dispute strategy to you. And then finally we start reversing the curse of bad credit, because it is a curse. Okay, it is a curse. Don't think it's not. Okay, now here's the first gift. You made it this far. You're 2/3 of this workshop right now. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Does anyone know who they are?
Dodd-Frank.
Yes. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau will clean your credit in 15 days. No credit repair company will tell you that. And you can follow them for free online. You have a problem with a bank, a mortgage company, a real estate company, any big financial services company, they will fight for you. They will fight the credit bureaus for you. Okay? The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, you file a complaint with them, they are bigger than having the U.S. Attorney of the state. Okay? That you live in. Okay? It was formed in 2011. They enforce the laws of the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and then a myriad of others. Know that. Free dispute on the internet, 15 days resolved. Okay? Give you an example. That's me, Gabriel Brown. I got a letter from Chase saying, thank you for contacting us about your annual fee on your closed credit card. I had a $24,000 credit card that they closed. And then I didn't know it. They sent me this postcard as if I called them and asked them about the closed account. So they were authenticating that they had made me aware of the adverse action. Because your creditors have to make you aware of the adverse action that are taken against you. So this is their way of saying, when you called us, we told you about the adverse action, and I had never called. They play these games. So this letter came May 18th, this postcard, May 18th. I filed a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau complaint the same day. I didn't want to lose a $24,000 credit card that I had a zero balance on, but the Chase Sapphire card comes with a $95 or $99 a year membership fee. They said they sent me the membership fee and I didn't pay it. But the real reason that they closed my account is for inactivity. I've had the account 4 years. I've only used it twice. They want to give that $24,000 to someone that they can make interest off. So they come up with this thing that they sent you a bill that they didn't send you.
Right.
I have 800 credit scores. I watch all my bills. They didn't send me the bill. Then they send me a letter saying that they sent, that I called them about the closed account and I wanted my $99 back. I filed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau complaint. On May 17, 2016, I received a postcard stating I had contacted my bank about an annual fee on my credit card account, and the bank said they had recently closed it. Response, May 30th. Upon your request, and I said in the complaint under the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they said, what do you want to do to resolve this? I said, I want my credit card account opened immediately, reopened immediately. And when have you had that much power on a bank? Close something that belonged to you, and you said you want it reopened immediately. Now, you might say that, but you don't believe anything's going to happen. But I know. Upon your request, we have reinstated your account for immediate use. If you should need a new card issued, please call us. That is Chase's phone number. I'm going to take it one level deeper. This is the young lady that handles all the Chase complaints for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau when you have problems with anything related to Chase Bank. That's her name, Vanessa Ramirez, Executive Office. Okay? She sent me another card member agreement. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau forwarded your concerns to us about your account ending in 3842. It is my pleasure to respond to you. My pleasure. Okay? Your account is enrolled in a paperless statements, which was a lie. I never enrolled in paperless statements, so they're covering the fact that they didn't send me statements because they can't close it for one payment. They have to send me 2 more statements. Okay? When we didn't receive a payment for your account, it was closed. The postcard you received is a template. We're sorry, that's a template. Upon your request, we have reinstated your account for immediate use. If you would need us to issue a new card, please call me. That lady's number right there, her phone number. If you are having any problems with Chase, I suggest you write that number down right there. That is the executive office. Okay? She handles all of it. She's very nice. Okay? But she only responded to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, not me. I'll give you one more example of that. I'm giving you guys the tips that we use. We charge $4.99 to file a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau complaint. We tell you it's free, but if you don't want to do it, okay, half of your issues that you're having right now, let's say you move into an apartment, you move out, and they say you owe them some money for you didn't clean it up. They always say that. So they take your deposit and then send you a bill for 2 times what your deposit was. And you try to fight it and you can't. Go here. Bank of America. There's a gentleman in Brazil. This is a $20,000 credit card that I have with Bank of America. There was someone in a cafe in Brazil that bought themselves a latte and a sandwich. Bank of America texts me, are you in Brazil? No, I'm not. I'm not in Brazil. They close the card. Then they overnight me a card. I missed it. It came to the house priority mail. I called them a week later. I said, hey, I haven't received my card. So they say, okay, now we're going to cancel that card and overnight you another one. Right? I got that one. But they charged me for the overnight fees and didn't tell me. Right? So the first thing that they did was put the overnight fees on my account. Because I hadn't used that card in 3 years. When I got the statement, I just put it away. I hadn't used it. They gave me a 30-day late because of $33. I filed a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau complaint. What happened? They reversed the $33 late payment, sent me this letter, okay, saying an update has been submitted to each of the following national credit reporting agencies to remove all delinquencies resulting from the fraud. If the young lady who had the problem with the identity theft had filed with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, she would have had more power than the attorneys she hired. She didn't know. They didn't know. The attorneys didn't know. Or they didn't use what they know. Okay? It works, people. Okay, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, It's created in 1970 for you. I'm speeding up. We're almost done. Stay awake. I got some more gifts for you. Okay? 1970, that law was put into place because 79% of the people in the credit bureaus had errors after the federal government received so many complaints. Yes, after the federal government received so many complaints from consumers about inaccurate information on their credit reports. They then investigated the 3 credit bureaus and found out it was about 79%, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. All right? So they created the Fair Credit Reporting Act and gave you those 4 provisions. If the information is inaccurate, questionable, unverifiable, or obsolete, you have the right to dispute it and have it removed. It says nothing about if it's yours. It can be rightfully yours. You guys are doing good. You're almost done. Okay? Fair Debt Collection Practices Act was 1977. Once they got all of the issues almost corrected, because we're still having those challenges right now. You saw it in 2013. Once they got what they thought was the law in place to correct the credit bureaus and the creditors from violating their rights, then they realized the collection agencies were violating the rights of the consumers, so they created the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act to combat any issues that you had with people that were trying to collect money from you that you didn't think you owed. Okay? Please, people, know these. The FDCPA, the FCRA, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Know that you must use the serial numbers from the credit reports. Okay? Know that you must put a security alert. Those are 4 things that credit repair companies will not tell you. Those are the things that get your files escalated out of the general handling in the credit bureaus to the fraud department or to a management department of those bureaus. Okay. The Credit Repair Organization Act. This is something credit repair companies will definitely not talk to you about. You know what this does? This bars us from collecting the money in advance. Payments in full. I'm not only telling you what you can use to manage the big companies, I'm telling you what you can use to manage the credit repair companies. Know your rights. Okay? Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Oh my goodness, you guys are losing so much money. Did you know that if a creditor calls you without you giving them explicit permission to call you on your cell phone, do you know that's a violation of the Telephone Consumer Protection Act of 1991? And do you know it's $500 in damages, up to $1,500, and you're running from those phone calls from those collection agencies when you should be keeping a record of them? And you can make $500 to $1,500 per call? All you have to do is take a picture of your call log with the phone numbers of them calling you, all right? Because you've had several new phones before you didn't give it to them, right? You gave it to the original creditor, your number. You gave the number to Bank of America, yes or no? And then Bank of America sold your account to who? Argon. Then Argon's calling you on the phone. Did you give Argon permission to call you? No. It's $500 a call. All right? We have a call log in this pamphlet where you keep track of those calls and take pictures of them in your phone, and we have an attorney that will do that case pro bono, and he's settling those cases. He hasn't failed on one yet, and he's settling those cases where then he'll take his fee out of your settlement. So if you got 20 phone calls, I don't know about you, but 20 times 500 is 10,000. You could make money from the calls and pay the collection. All right? And in the negotiation of those suits that he's filing against them that never go to court, he's also negotiating that they delete the debt from your credit report. See, these collection agencies are so bent on taking advantage of you and have been doing it for so long that they don't believe that they're finally going to run into someone on the line that actually knows better. Okay? Okay? These are some of the restrictions laid out, but it goes into text messaging, pre-recorded voice messages. Do you know if a collection company calls you with a pre-recorded voice message and you didn't give them permission to call you? That's a violation. So these are all the violations. I'm laying all this stuff out for you because if you want to come to get your credit repaired, you can make the money off the collection calls just by getting the attorney's information from us and having that money pay for your credit repair and pay some more. All right, let's go through some credit reports really quickly. The first thing also you must do before you file disputes is a personal information update. I've given you 6 jewels that no one will give you. If you do not update your personal information, what will happen is you have entrusted people that pull your credit for you, that they've input your name, your address, your date of birth, and everything in proper order as it is on your driver's license or your social security card. Some of these companies have those old systems where they put your middle name first, your first name second, and then your last name, or some have your last name first, your middle name, and then your first name. Well, the credit bureaus are doing it first name, middle name, last name. So if someone inputs your information out of order, that's the same alternate identity. So now you're 2 people. I'm Gabriel Eric Brown. I'm not Eric Gabriel Brown. My social security card says Gabriel Eric Brown. So who is Eric Brown Gabriel? Look at these bills, these statements that you're getting. Some of that information is how migrations of files, how files come together. Okay? Social security numbers being similar, someone's information will migrate to your file. Being a junior, your father's information will migrate to your file. Okay? So be careful. Update your personal information before you do the dispute, then add a fraud alert. And now when the creditors go to pull your credit to review your file, to get the information that they need to verify your identity back to the credit bureaus in response to your dispute, if you update the personal information and put the fraud alert, they can't access your file. So your creditors can't access the files anymore. So they can't use your information against you. That's how they've been beating you, is you haven't been putting fraud alerts, and they then get the information by pulling your credit before they respond to the bureaus and give them your updated information and know it's accurate because you just updated it. See that? Okay? So make sure you update your personal information and then put a security alert on the file. Now, this is a sample report. Your personal information will be under applicant information, okay? It's gonna be your name, co-applicant if you're filing with someone else, your date of birth, your social, street address, marital status, length of time, okay, that you've been at that residence, whether you own it or you're renting, okay? And then your employment information. That's all basic, okay? This is a mock-up of a basic credit report, but you gotta know how to read them. Your additional addresses, you're going to have that up there. Have you ever noticed that there's multiple addresses that you've never lived in your personal information, you don't know how that got there? And if you leave it there, that's the beginning of the migration of other people's information on your file. You even have to dispute that. Don't take that lightly. Because you have good scores and you don't have any identity theft, but you look at other addresses that you don't recognize, you've got to dispute those and get those off. Okay? Normally your credit reports will go too deep in active information, your current address and your former, and then on the back pages they'll have those additional addresses. Search through those, okay? You're going to have 2 different types of accounts on these reports. The revolving credit cards, okay? Those are credit cards like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, department stores, gas cards. Those are cards that do not have an end date, they just have a payment date. But you can pay on those as long as you want until you pay it off. But they have the interest and it's revolving. So it's growing, the balance is growing if you keep making minimum payments. And then you have the installment accounts. The revolvings will say R on your credit reports, the installments will say I. Normally the installments have a higher weight against your credit score. So installments are like auto loans because you make a set number of payments for interest over a set installment date times, okay? So if it's 60 installments, 60 months, those accounts will be paid off in 60 months. That's your end date if you don't pay late or if you don't miss any payments, okay? The trade information looks like this. Does this confuse anyone? Anyone in here is confused when they see that? Yes or no? A little bit? So let's just go through it really quickly. Your creditor name, Wachovia. Wachovia is no longer in business, I don't believe. Okay? Then under the creditor's name is the account number. All right? So you'll find that's how you read the actual report for the creditor and the account number. Date reported is going to be on the top, September 2009. DLA is date of last activity. That's where the statute of limitations starts, people. Okay, that's where the statute of limitations starts. So let's say your last payment to the creditor, but you haven't talked to them, that will be your date of last activity. But if you call the creditor, send them a correspondence in the mail, that's also considered activity. So that will then become your date of last activity. So if you're reading the report and it doesn't have the correct date of last activity that you believe, it could be because the creditor is not updating it, and it could be because you may call them on the phone and they have a record of the recorded call, so they're running your statute of limitation from the last time you talked to them, and you're looking at it, oh, this should fall off my credit report X amount of years, and they don't match. And when it doesn't fall off, you're upset. Okay, but that's why they record your conversations, because they can document it should be there longer. Okay, then the next is date open. This is important. You don't want to close accounts even if you're not using them. You want to make sure that your accounts don't stay inactive too long, because the banks will start closing them for you, like they've done on two of mine, Bank of America and Chase, and they all work together. Okay, so they will know when another bank is closing their accounts. I'll tell you about that later. So the date opens, that is the seasoning of your file. That lets you know how many years, months your file's been open, and that is important. That is 35% of your score, people. Don't close accounts. Your high credit, that person has used $1,243 with their Wachovia account, but their credit limit is $9,000. They owe currently $254. The terms, 20 months, that 20 there is 20 months, and the account type is a R, revolving. Okay? Current status, 1 is in good status. You're not late. Okay? If that was a 2, you'd be 30 days late. Number of months, you can go and see how many months you've been. Those accounts have been open, 17, 16, 52, 16, and 9 months. Now, down here, historical status, time past due, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. As long as you have all zeros there, that means that account is in good standing. If you have a 1, a 2, or a 3 in any of those, okay, any numbers in those columns mean your accounts are late. So that's what you want to dispute if you are disputing those accounts. Don't dispute the entire Wachovia account because there's some late payments. You don't want to lose the entire line. You just want to dispute the late payments, okay? Past due or last due. There's no past due or last due there. So that's important to know, okay? Public records and collections. They normally separate the collections from the public records. Why? Because the public records are things you've gone to court for. Okay? Collections are debts that are overdue, but you didn't go to court for them. Now, how many years does an inquiry stay on your credit report? Anybody? How many years does an inquiry stay on your credit report? 6? 2?
Your slide says 2.
Okay, sir. 2?
I would go with 2.
2, okay. It's up to 2. So how many years does an inquiry stay on your credit report? Up to. If I'm going to give you up to $1,000 off, how much am I going to give you? You don't know until you get to where I am, and you get it. Up to 2 years. This is how you get inquiries on your report, people. You believe there are 2 years. There's 2 prepositions in front of that. Up to. 2 years. They don't have to stay there for 2 years. There's 2 different types of inquiries. Soft inquiries and the hard inquiries. The hard inquiries are when a bank actually or a creditor actually pulls your report. A soft inquiry is when your information is sold by the credit bureau to a creditor that gives them guidelines. Give me a young man that's 21 years old, that lives in this zip code, that makes about this much money a year, $35,000, $40,000 a year, and has a score between 650 and 700. And then the credit bureau sells all those names and contacts to the creditor, Bank of America. Then Bank of America sends you a pre-approval credit card. Pre-approval credit card application. That's a soft inquiry. That's how you get those applications, okay? All right. Alerts and validations, be careful about your alerts. You want to make sure that your validations do not have multiple social security numbers in there. Okay, and you want to check that to make sure, and make sure your date of birth, there's not multiple date of births in there as well. And then this is where you're going to see your inquiries at the bottom. All right, the soft inquiries and the hard inquiries will be there. They will tell you what they are on your credit reports. The scores only focus on the FICO score. Don't tell me what your Advantage score is. Don't tell me what your Beacon score is. FICO. 95% of the banks use what? FICO. Focus on that. FICO.com will tell you your scores. Don't go to True Credit, Credit Check Total, Credit Karma. Go to FICO.com. Because you'll get your score from one of those other vendors and then go to a mortgage company to try to buy a house and your score will be 60 points difference. And you'll be like, well, on my Advantage it was this, or on my Karma it was that, or on my Credit Check Total it was this. No, FICO. Go to FICO, people. You're almost done. You guys are doing good. This is how the score works. Payment history. Pay on time. Even if you just pay a portion of the debt, pay on time. 35% of your score is your payment history. 30% is how much you owe. 35% is your payment history. 15% is how long your credit accounts have been open. 10% is new credit. You must open new accounts. Types of credit. You must have a variety of accounts. So 20% of your score is new credit and types. So you get benefit from opening installment accounts, jewelry accounts, furniture store accounts, auto loans, mortgage loans. You get 20% of your score for just having a variety of accounts. So if your scores are stuck in the 700s, it's because you don't have a variety. Now I'm going to tell you something right now that no one's ever in here heard before. Ever. Ever. Do you believe I can say something you've never heard before?
Certainly you can.
Yes, sir. Let me tell you something you've never, ever heard before. Why my two accounts were closed, Bank of America and Chase, and it's something that I forgot to do, that I have been doing for years. The way you get your credit scores to go up on accounts that you're not using, inactive accounts, okay? They should not be affecting your credit score that much other than they're open and they're accumulating history, all right? But this is, I have 49 credit cards, I only use 3. The other 46, the way I stay 800s is I send all of the inactive accounts $50, a negative balance. You get credit for negative balance. So 46 cards that the banks owe me is what keeps my scores in the 800s. So the gentleman or the person who has 49 accounts using 3 and 46 have 0 balances, that inactivity will cause his score to tick down. The credit bureau's machinery doesn't know how to deal with a negative balance because it has to report that the creditors owe me money. It has to report who owes who. I make them owe me, and it reports every month that they owe me, and I get points accumulated for them owing me $50, and it takes them about 6 months to catch it, and then they'll send me my $50 back. And then guess what I do?
Send it back?
I send it right back to them. And guess what they love? Collecting money. They will not send you the money back. I round my payments off, people, on everything I have. You're making your car loan for $455. Round it to $460. Right? So if you're ever late, all those $5 that you've been paying will show up that you made a payment even though you forgot to make a payment or you didn't make a payment that month. And so then when they send you a bill, they'll send you a bill showing that you have a payment made, but it was less than what was required. That has a lesser effect on your credit score as far as being a negative impact. So send your creditors, even if you don't use the card, send them $50, okay? And my scores stayed in the 800s from all those accounts. I made a mistake and forgot to send Chase and Bank of America, and as soon as they got a chance, they went to close them because they realized what I was doing, okay? Here we go. Almost there, people, you're doing good. Here's a dispute strategy. We work on all of these. Do not believe that these will not come off. Remember, we are not disputing that these accounts do not belong to you. We're disputing how they're being reported. Remember that? Do not say it's not mine. If it's a foreclosure, you cannot tell the bank it's not yours. You will trigger a fraud investigation where they will contact the fraud department of the bank and suggest that the person who filled out that application for that mortgage wasn't you. You just initiated a fraud investigation on yourself. So you don't say it's not yours. You dispute how it's reported. Okay? All right. Now, this is important to know. The credit bureaus are trying to throw you off. They keep different notations for the negative notations or the good notations. Watch, you'll see how they're different. Okay means you're current on experiment. 30 days means you're 30 days late. 60 means you're 60, and so on. CRD, creditor, received deed. Okay? FS, foreclosure proceedings. F, foreclosed. VS, voluntary surrender, where you take your car and you give it to them. It doesn't make any difference if you voluntarily surrender your car or if they come get it. Okay? I had a Mercedes-Benz in 2000, brand new. I put $47,000 on it. It was a $130,000 car. My father passed, and my mother didn't have the proceedings to pay for his funeral. So my payment was $1,700 a month, and I called the bank and I said, hey, listen, can I push my payment back to the end? Because my father passed and I want to pay for his funeral proceedings. It was much more than $1,700. And they said, yes. But when the bank realized I had $47,000 equity, okay, they decided to put my car in repossession status. They didn't want to honor what they had said they would do. And I drove the car for another 18 months until I had believed in my mind that $50,000 that I put down, $47,000 I put down was used up in payments. And then I turned it in, okay? So it doesn't matter if you keep it or if you turn it in, it's still a repossession to them, all right? Paid by creditor, IC, insurance claim, G, claim with government, D, default, C, collection, CO, charge off, and CLS is closed, ND, no data for this period. That's when your account is so new that there's no data there, all right? These are the ones from TransUnion. You can see they're different. I'm not gonna read them all. Here are the ones for Equifax. Look how much different they are. You gotta know these codes. So the codes are different for each bureau. So if you're going to do these disputes, you must know the codes. The statute of limitations. Look at this, people. Maryland, 3 years. Louisiana, 3 years. Kansas, 3 years. Okay? Hawaii, that's got to be a 6. It can't be a 0. That's a 6. Yeah, that's a 6. Okay? Washington, D.C., 3. Delaware, 3. Arkansas, 3. Arizona, 3. Does anyone see your state is less than 7 years? Okay? What state? Louisiana? Louisiana, 3 years. You have people walking around saying, oh, this is my credit, it's not going to get better for 7 years, 10 years. Okay? Those statute of limitations are in your packet here. Okay? Some people are calling in after 3 years to negotiate debts that they no longer are obligated to pay. Know your rights. Okay? This is important. The benefits of good credit. More family time. More family time. This is my house. Went from homeless to 1.2 million. My mother, when I brought her over the first time, she walked in, my doors are 15 feet. My mother walked in and she stood in the foyer and she saw the marble, and I had all the doors with the entire back of my house. It's 8,800 square feet. The entire back is a sliding door, and I slid all the doors open, and it leads out to my pool, my deck, and all this nice stuff I have back there, jacuzzi. And my mother stood in the foyer, and she was frozen. She was paralyzed. And I had to explain to her that I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was like, Mom, you know, I got credit. This is what you can do. And I had to explain to her, no, because I live here. She froze. Because she was only used to cleaning houses this size. She wasn't used to anybody having one. And she complained the entire time she stayed with me for 2.5 months. The house has too many windows. Why would you buy a house with these many windows? You're not going to have any privacy. Somebody's going to rob you, this, that, and the other. So anyway, that's what you get with good credit. Benefits of good credit, vacation time. You get to travel on credit cards. Benefits of good credit, they did an article on me in Black Image magazine, and they called me the Fast and Furious of Las Vegas. These are my cars. These are dream cars. When I brought that Lamborghini right there, I brought it from the dealership and I left it there almost 2 months. I was afraid to go get it. I didn't feel worthy. And I had a payment due before I picked the car up. I financed my daughter's dorm stay. She got a full scholarship, a partial scholarship at Howard University. She did a double major, but she did not want to stay at home even though her parents lived 20 minutes from the school. So on my Navy Federal Credit Union, they charged me $6,000 every semester for her to stay on campus for 4 years. You do the math, $50,000, just because she didn't want to live with her mom for 4 years. She wanted to feel some independence. So I afforded my daughter that luxury. That's me and her at her graduation. Then she came out and she said, Dad, you own a modeling business and you were doing really well. I want to do modeling. And I couldn't deny her, so I sponsored photo shoots and galas where she went and dresses to try to help her become a model. And did that on a credit card. She convinced my mother, that's my mother there, she's 75 years old right there, and that's my daughter in the front. She convinced my mother that she needed to go to Disneyland before she went home to be with the Lord. And that's my mother and my daughter at a bungalow that I had to pay for on my credit card and fly them both to Orlando to go to Disneyland. And they had a ball, and that's why my daughter's so happy. They've been shopping and eating and hanging out, and my mother, she's in the background, she's looking very perky too. Okay? This is something that you young people need to know. Credit is not bad, it's the 10X factor. I'm going to tell you this right now. Your annual income, you're supposed to have 10 times that in credit. If you're trading hours for dollars, you're doing it wrong. There's not enough hours in the day. As your bills start to increase exponentially, and you're not going to get the raises and the cost of living raises that you need to keep up with your imagination. And your hours are going to get shorter, even though you need 40 or 60 or 50 or whatever. They're going to get shorter because your health is going to start to fade. And so before you know it, the standard of living that you have, you're not going to be able to keep up with because there's not enough money coming in. All right? Credit is the 10X factor. You're supposed to have 10 times the amount of your annual income in credit. Okay? It's important. Recognize that. All right? These are some free bonuses. All of you are going to get a cease and desist letter. All of you are going to get a personal information update. All of you are going to get the statute of limitations. All of you are going to get an identity theft affidavit because you never know who in your family is going to need it. This is the end of the workshop. You guys did really well. All of you are going to get a collection call log so you can document all the calls, okay, that you're getting from collection companies right now to make $500 to $1,500. I'm going to give you all the attorney's business card that does these suits, and he's getting them paid without going to court. All of you are going to get my basic credit education guide from homeless to Blackcards. All the 46 questions that were asked to me that I answered from my heart and from being here, doing this, not talking about this. I'm going to give you that because I don't want you to have to pay us. But more importantly, I don't want you to be taken advantage of because you didn't know better. Your rights are much stronger than the credit bureaus and the collection agencies. The reason I showed you the 40 million mistakes, because I want you to know that even 60 Minutes, they don't know what we know. They don't. They really don't. Thousands of people are here getting their lives back. And one lady on 60 Minutes and one anchor on 60 Minutes couldn't do it with all the attorneys that they ran into. Yeah. Okay? So, the identity theft affidavit, we charge $3.99 to do that. The personal information update, we charge $2.99 to do that. The cease and desist letter, we charge $175. Okay, that's $875. My book, it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble for $24.95, $24.99, something like that. Okay, All of the information I've given you is what I've learned here in the 10 years, 11 years I've been here. They didn't just drop this in my lap. I figured it out on the fly. I figured it out and I started seeing things and adding more and adding more. And we got it now where the system is almost perfect, where any of you can expect to get 90 points, virtually 90 points in 90 days, or 50% to 90% deletion.
That's a lot.
Okay? I mean, there's no other credit repair company to do that, and the pay per delete companies cost you more. Didn't you hear that one gentleman, he said he had 118 negative accounts? If you went to a pay per delete that charges you 85 per account, 118 would be almost 15 grand to go through a credit repair program. We charge you a flat fee, no one else does inquiries. Okay? Some people come here with 50 inquiries. That's not unheard of, and we work on all of those too. All right? The program is going to go to $24.97 in the very near future. This is not a sales pitch. Okay? It's not a sales pitch. Today is $12.47, which is going to be 50% of what's going to be soon, because we don't want to help the bulk of the community anymore. We want to specialize, target just the people, okay, that can afford us, because we want to give quality of service, but have less clients. Okay? Rolls-Royce doesn't sell a lot of cars, but when you see a Rolls-Royce, you know you've seen quality being driven up the road. Yes or no? Okay? So we didn't pick this big office on the corner of Sahara and Buffalo with this big boardroom that used to be a bank. This used to be Paramount Bank. They went out of business. We didn't pick this 6.5 years ago when everybody else was running to the mountains to get an office and a tent, you know, at the foot of the mountain. And we came to the corner of Sahara and Buffalo. There was no one else in this office park when we came here. Everyone has gone out of business. And we were the only one anchoring, and now the businesses are coming back, and now we have a foothold on Sahara and Buffalo because we believe that the service we offer would take us through. If you do something so well, the economy can't affect you. How much money did Apple lose in the recession? Everybody in here still has Apple phones and okay? So what you're going to get for that $12.47 is 4 months of service. Personal information update, credit file audit, security alert, credit rebuilder plan. We have 19 companies we do business with that we've negotiated to give you credit in your current status being credit challenged so you can rebuild your credit. You're going to get it 100% disputed. That means everything: name, address, social, bad addresses, good addresses, your negative accounts, and all your inquiries. Other companies do about 50% disputed. Okay? We're going to order the consumer reports, give you live support, not through a portal on the internet. We don't want you to go to the internet. We want you to come to the office. Live support. 300 credit repair emails. You're going to get an email every 2 days with tips about credit. So you're going to get emails for 2 years automatically. Okay? Free credit education, which is going to be the credit education guide is my books. I'm going to give you all my books for free. All right? And then we're going to do an exit interview where we're going to look you in your face and ask you, do you appreciate what we've done for you? And you're going to love us so much that you're going to do a video in the back. You're going to put yourself on camera because you want to let everyone know, hey, it really works. I'm shy. I'm camera shy. I'm camera shy, but I'm going on camera today because, man, what you did for me, right? What you did for me, I want to tell somebody about. Okay? $12.47. Now, we give you some advanced credit repair and let you go. Here it is, people. This is the code. This is what we dispute on. That's it. There should be a right now. There it is. Fair Credit Reporting Act. It almost hurts to say it. Section 15 U.S. Code 1681I. What makes us different? Not only do we do disputes, we file complaints with Consumer Affairs. We filed Better Business Bureau complaints against your creditors. We asked you to pull your LexisNexis reports as well, because do you know in the LexisNexis reports, those are current reports? This is how they redline you. When I moved into my $1 million house in a neighborhood that has an average income of 150 or better, an education of probably a college degree or better, right? Okay? Guess what LexisNexis says about me? As many times as I've written to them to update my address in their system, they still say I live at 6448 North Bruce Street with the 4 drug dealers. Guess what they say the average education in my neighborhood is? 11 years. That means they don't graduate from college. I mean high school. Guess what it says the average income is? $66,000. When you're applying for credit and you don't know what's on your LexisNexis report, and it still has you at your mama's house, but your credit report shows where you really are, that's the way that they keep you boxed into a certain amount of credit, where you don't get the high limits. You only get $300 limits, $500 limits, $600 limits. Why? Because you live around people with 11th grade education. You don't know what to do with 20,000. See that? Be careful. Business director reviews. We do reviews on the creditors. All right? Fair Credit Reporting Act, Code 609. This section 609, which requires proper verification according to established case law involving the credit bureaus having the copies of the original signed credit application in their files. I'm not an attorney. I just read law to you. I just gave you the grail. They don't have the original sign. But now they're starting to go get them. So you don't want to use that unless you have identity theft. But you can use it if you know it's a little mom and pop organization. But the credit bureaus are trying to get smarter. If you send that to a collection agency, they don't normally have the original.